Peter Don. There we go. So one reason why I'm so passionate about the Conservative Party is because my wife has been directly affected by this bill. Her college psychologist is no longer.
Right.
It's been amalgamated, and this round, I think there's rotations, but right now, there's not a single psychologist represented in her college.
And the other thing too is there's a lot of like acupuncturists, naturopaths are mentioned like the word once in the entire bill.
Yeah.
So there's lots of massage therapists. These people are actually not explicitly described in this bill.
Yeah.
But they're still healthcare providers.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's we figure that with the COVID-19 situation, we lost about 10% of our healthcare workers.
Yeah.
You know, whether the doctors, nurses.
And you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know, it's shocking to even be talking about this because really, and I said this earlier today, this is a revolution. This is where they're not trimming around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking over.
Yeah.
And so the things that we've come to rely on, and even, but I don't think we're fighting, sometimes I think we're fighting it the right way because I mean, you can't undo the Constitution or the Charter by passing laws. You can't take away people's rights by doing that. And I'm not sure how I keep looking at this and thinking, someone's got to have another fight. We were just talking about this earlier. The idea of you have a right to work, you have a right to work, you have a right to travel, you have a right to these things. When someone puts a permit in front of you for 6 years and blocks you from getting what you want done, or we were talking about mines today that are 18 years, at what point do we say this is no longer constitutional? Does someone stand up and go, no, you can't do this? You know, we signed the Declaration of Bioethics and Human Rights in 2005. If you go through it, there's nothing that allows them to do any of the things that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So either we uphold these or we let them go. But I was going to say about this other thing, Judy mentioned the United Nations, but the WHO is who runs our schools of public health.
Wow.
And the schools of public health are the ones who we would matriculate students through there. They call them doctors. They're not medical doctors, but they're doctors of public health. And as I think it was David Eby said, we're here to protect public health, not the patients. They're protecting the system. But this system is now being created and developed and promoted.
So how then do we take it back?
I know I don't mean to sound glib, but I think we take it back. I think we have to do it. But I've been talking about this all day today, or actually since I started running, and it came to my attention. How many people care? Why are we full here? You've promoted this, people should know about it. And you think about it, and I've got stuff I could be doing, but I'm sitting here thinking, this is exactly where so many people should be. What percentage of the American people in 1776 fought the American Revolution? Does anybody know what it is? Want to guess?
5%? 3%?
3%. The other 97% sat back and watched to see who was going to win. Now, it says a lot about that 3%.
Yeah, it was also a 3% increase in taxes that drove it.
It was a very, yeah, I mean, gosh, they're pikers compared to the governments of today.
Well, look at during COVID, 9% of the people have really kept other organizations from reaching further into our lives during COVID.
But I don't think we've ever experienced a government that was as hostile towards its own people as we have seen right now.
Yeah.
We've never seen anything like this,
No.
federally and provincially. They don't like us.
That's what the problem is. The problem is people are afraid to get involved because they think they're going to lose everything. I lost my business
Sure.
during COVID. I'm 100% custom with society needs because these machine-made things just don't do it. My profession is I'm in the orthotic business as well.
Yes.
And
So we need people like Randy who get involved, that's what you're saying.
see now, but that's I myself I have Randy Stillwater. That's a stage name for my jewelry making and drum making.
Yeah.
And You can't believe what I say to, to the public, how men of Canada become.
So Randy, what we're gonna ask you to do is get in contact with Judy, and she will put you to work, believe you me. Dr. Pelech, so in your mind, how do people get involved and take back their healthcare system and take back their viewpoints and okay, it's Brad, right?
Brent.
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 I'm having difficulty with it.
Brent,
How do
Brian.
we get people like Brent who can help us, and how do we get involved? How do we be that 3%?
Well, there's a lot of ways. One is there are many different organizations, freedom groups and the like, that you can learn more. And we're very appreciative that you have these events, because it gives us venues to really let people know what's going on. The other is to, at this point, because we have an election happening, this is when you really need to contact your candidates for MLAs and make clear to them what your concerns are. So you have to either write to them, email them, or come to events where they're at. Later, when people are in power, after the elections have occurred, then you have to really continually contact your MLA or...
Okay, let me put you on pause for a second. How many of you here know who your prospective candidate is? Raise your hand. How many of you don't know? Raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you 5.
Talk to me.
You know, you have your job cut out. Find out who your candidate is and call them now.
Sure, they should be accessible. I think now's the time when most of them are accessible.
Yeah.
So maybe get them while they're hot.
Get them while they're hot, while they are willing to listen to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Willing to. So your ears are wide open
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, I've been. Russ can tell you that I've been sort of active in politics long before I was a politician.
Yeah.
But I can assure you that these people right now are waiting to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Because they're whether they like it or not, they're going to get the lay of the land.
Now I've often wondered. I talked to my NDP guy about 4 times during COVID, and he didn't hear me at all.
No, because
He did not hear me at all. I sat down in his office. He did not hear me, and I talked to him 4 different times.
he was totally in charge of stirring the Kool-Aid. Don't worry about it. Just
I knew who
Forgive
it
him.
was. I was in his office. I was a regular fixture, but I could tell he was just sitting there.
yeah. Well, when you get to that level, it's an inculcation. They're not going to hear you. They don't want to.
Time to vote somebody else in.
There's that,
Yes.
and also party whips. They basically have to go with what they're being told from the top. Doesn't matter what they think or their constituents. And that's the biggest problem. We don't have enough people in our legislatures or parliament that can actually vote based on their conscience and what is in the best interest of their constituents. And I think that's a real issue.
Lori, okay, you got a mic. Yellow mic.
Am I on? Great. One way we can fight this is to vote for the BC Conservatives, because they have taken a stand that they will overturn Bill 36, that will be repealed. So that's one way. I also want to comment, I'm a former...
Which is good, I believe, because
Yes.
then we can get it back into the factory, have a discussion on the whole bill, because they only discussed how many pages?
It was about 233 lines.
So they only discussed 233 lines out of
546, something like that.
almost 600 pages. So they didn't even digest, what, a half? Not even a half.
I need to say, there's a fair bit I can say, and this is at the local level. I am a former mental health occupational therapist. I worked at Peace Arch Hospital. I had been in Fraser Health for 18 years. CTV News reported on this last year. Threats, discipline, fear, the muzzling of BC healthcare workers, that if we raise a concern to corporate within the health authorities, we face bullying and termination, and that was my case. I raised concerns, and I trusted my union, Health Sciences Association, to support me. They did not. They promised me I was going to be reinstated into my position. I was going to get $36,000 for bullying and harassment. I showed up the day of the arbitration, and they threw me under. I was banned from Fraser Health in its entirety. And what they removed from the record that I was trumped up charges of having breached patient records. I had solely accessed my own patient records, those I had personally authored in draft to sign off. I had also contacted the Office of Information and Privacy Commissioner of BC, they are the provincial authority on records, and said, is this a breach? And they said, no, we have no issue with your actions. HSA made sure that was off the record. So this arbitration was also a violation of the collective agreement, my collective agreement. They expedited it, they fast-tracked it before my professional regulatory college could prove that these accusations were false. So long story short, one of those...
Did you feel that you were heard?
Oh, my voice was completely shut down.
Okay, so you did not feel heard. And as I look at this setup we now have in BC Bill 36, it seems like people like, what's your first name?
My name is Michelle, and I've got
Michelle.
other key points that
Okay,
I'm
hold
bring
on.
across. Yes.
It seems like Michelle would be far distanced from anybody who actually heard her. And that was the problem. I wanted to go talk with Bonnie Henry during the pandemic. But she's so far away, and she's the only one to stamp exemptions. Is that not true?
Well, yes, it's her authority that the public health orders are issued. And I think one of the problems that's faced with the colleges is that you have unions, and those unions are actually getting a lot of money
Yes.
directly from the government, and so they don't necessarily want to endanger that relationship.
Well, it's more than that, because my union, Health Sciences Association, financially contributed to Adrian Dix's election. And Adrian Dix appointed Jim Sinclair, former president of BC Labour, to chair of Fraser Health. And my union labor relations officer, they have worked with Jim Sinclair. The other issue is this, all my union's consent forms of representation read that I agree to have my interests represented or the interests of HSA itself. And let me just say, Dave Eby appointed one of my union lawyers to vice chair of the Labor Relations Board. That is the only way I, as a union member, can file a grievance against the union. Is that not a conflict of interest? So Fraser Health and HSA did everything possible to have me found guilty of misconduct, but they couldn't do it. What this doctor has mentioned with the change of the colleges, yes, it's now 100% government appointed, and it's through this merit, right? So this NDP government has done this huge overreach in which us BC healthcare workers, if we raise concerns about you, your care, we have absolutely no protection at all.
And it
No
sounds like
protections.
virtually zero voice.
Zero, we're completely
Yeah,
shut
because it doesn't
down.
look like the colleges represent, like my wife's, all the psychologists who are paying card-carrying members of whatever professions. They don't get to vote these people in. You probably wouldn't be able to vote who represents you.
Absolutely not. They've taken that away. And here's the other thing. I reached out to Fraser Health saying, hey, I would like to sign off on my patient records. And this is of you guys locally. And Fraser Health said, no, we've taken care of it. And I went, how? Because I am the author, only I can sign off. And the only reason why I can tell you this story, because an NDA was put on me, is an employment lawyer took up my case pro bono, absorbed over $215,000 in legal costs to bring me to the BC Supreme Court, where I lost. I wanted to overturn this ban of my employment. I lost because Canadian labor law says the union is the client, not me, and I was ordered to pay my union's legal costs.
Hold on, repeat that again. Repeat that again. The union.
Yeah.
What, say it again. Say it again.
Canadian labor law says the union is the client, not me, the healthcare worker who pays the union's fees.